Welcome back to Big Sky Buckets. I'm Big Sky, and today we're finalizing the power rankings going into the 2025 NBA season because the season is upon us. It starts today. Let's go. Let's finish this out. We'll talk about some season awards at the end. And yeah, we're finally here. Super excited. Can't wait to watch some real NBA basketball tonight. Final tier Mount Olympus, the top of the top, the two top teams in the league, and rightfully so. A lot of people have these two teams as their top two, whether it's contender ranking, regular season ranking, it doesn't really matter. But number two, coming in number one in the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder. To me, winners of the offseason. You were one of the worst rebounding teams for an elite team in general. They won 57 games last year, tied for first, and got the tiebreaker between the Nuggets because they beat the Nuggets 3 or 4 times. Now you bring in Isaiah Hartenstein, who you paid a lot of money for, and that money really matters very little in the grand scheme of things simply because the core of this team is SGA, who has already been paid, maybe an extension down the line, of course, Chet and J-Dub, both of which the extensions don't even come in until this upcoming offseason, and then even past then, it's about, a year or two away before that money actually kicks in for the Oklahoma City Thunder cap. So that money that you paid Isaiah Hartenstein for 3 years really doesn't matter at all. On top of that, even though he's already injured and he should help with the 5-out offense and the double big lineup of Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein will be great, you traded Josh Giddey, the worst player on your roster by far last year, in terms of getting actual minutes and not being able to defend, not being able to shoot. The only thing he contributed is playmaking, which should be a small question for this team, but it's not that big of an issue in my opinion. With no draft capital for Alex Caruso, one of the best perimeter defenders in the game, to play the Cason Wallace position because Cason Wallace will now take over the Josh Giddey minutes, this team is fundamentally one of the best defensive teams in the league for sure. They will be one of the better offensive teams. I think top 5 defense, top 10 offense seems pretty realistic for this team. And they won 57 games last year. It's not out of the question to win 60. I have reservations about winning more than 60 because of how loaded the West is. And I do think there's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster with integrating Isaiah Hartenstein back into the lineups, and within the games you're going to want to run Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein two big lineups in general, and that's going to take some time because even though you got some time in training camp, real game experience is significantly different. And the reason you want to integrate those and you are willing to give up a couple wins to try and get that to work well is simply because that's going to be very valuable for the playoffs and the versatility of being able to run different lineups in general instead of the classic 5-out with Chet at center lineups that have worked, but feels like there might be a little bit more of a ceiling on those lineups. Instead, if you face a team like the Nuggets, the Wolves, even the Mavericks, who got taller last year at the deadline, now you have 2 7-footers with Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet. So that versatility is extremely important. That roller coaster in and of itself, integrating certain lineups that because Isaiah Hartenstein got hurt, and even though it doesn't affect this team in the long run, certain times throughout the year trying to figure and perfect those lineups might take a couple of wins off. That's why I have this team at 2. And the other reason is the number 1 team, of course, is the Boston Celtics, and deservedly so. Defending champs, should be the favorites to repeat for the first time since 2018. I know I said that last year with the Nuggets, but this team is loaded. I was a skeptic because everyone just loved them so much, and I wasn't like hate watching them or anything, but my biggest thing was the playmaking, and I realized throughout this playoff run, when you only lose 3 times, you might just be that damn good. And yeah, there's not too much to be said. They retained all of their assets. The biggest question mark is, of course, Kristaps Porzingis' injury when he comes back, but also at the same time, this team should still be able to win 60 games without him. There's not too much to be said here. They're incredible. Mazzulla Ball does work, and they should be able to run through a lot of teams this year. That's it. That's the tier. This one was one that I just didn't need to talk about because most of you guys have already heard about how great these two teams are. But I just want to re-emphasize, especially with the Thunder and the small changes that they've had, they're going to be damn good. They're going to be really hard to beat. And of course, the Celtics have a little bit of motivation, a little bit more than what you would think from a defending champion that only lost 3 times in the playoffs and won 64 games. The Jason Tatum slander, the Jaylen Brown not making the Olympics, it's just a really weird, bizarre thing to happen for a team that was so fantastic last year. But yeah, most likely finals preview between those two, but we'll get there eventually. Yeah, and let's do some season awards predictions real quick, just because we have a little bit of time. That was super quick. Look, I haven't talked about it yet, but all right, Coach of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Executive of the Year, Most Improved Player of the Year, or just Most Improved Player, Defensive Player of the Year, and Most Valuable Player. Here we go. Coach of the Year, I have the Magic as the 3rd seed in the East. I think Jamal Mosley, that puts him in a great position to win Coach of the Year. I think you can make the argument with the Mavericks jumping from 5 to 2. That's pretty damn good. But I do think, as we're going to talk about here, narrative does matter and reputation in general. And I think Jason Kidd helped his reputation last year, but not enough for people to be like, yeah, he absolutely deserves Coach of the Year. I think the argument could be for Executive of the Year, Nico Harrison, the executive of the Dallas Mavericks. I think he has more of a chance to win Executive of the Year than Jason Kidd does to win Coach of the Year. But that's just my opinion. Sixth Man of the Year, I think it's a really good race between Dante DiVincenzo and Malik Monk. I'm going to go with Malik Monk. He didn't win it a couple years ago, and I think deserves to win it this year, especially if the Kings are as good as I say, being a top 5 team. I also think one of the things that might hurt with Dante, because I was really thinking about giving it to him. One, Naz Reid is still on this team, and he just won Sixth Man of the Year, so he could just simply repeat again. 2, I think Dante's going to flip-flop between coming off the bench and being a part of the starting unit. I think one of the things, as we talked about with the Julius Randle pickup, is the Mike Conley possible regression. And even though his playmaking is super invaluable to this team, I do see a world where DiVincenzo starting as kind of a combo guard next to Anthony Edwards could be a very immaculate starting lineup, especially with issues spacing wise. And again, just comes down to Mike Conley is he's a much older player. He may not play every single game, so there might be a chance for Dante to play a lot more games than anticipated in the starting lineup. Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Zach Edey. To me, he's in prime position to win this. I think, as I said, the Grizzlies come in as 6th place, jumping from one of the worst teams in the league back up to 6th in the West. Of all these rookies, there's a lot of rookies that are going to start on really bad teams, but we know voters really like it in a class that's not like, oh, it's generational talent Victor Wembanyama. When you help your team go to the playoffs and you're a starter most of the year. And I think Zach Edey for the Grizzlies is going to do exactly that. I'd love to put Reece Shea or Reed Shepherd up there, but I think they're going to relatively have the same issue. Reed Shepherd is going to have to fight for playing minutes, just because there's so many great wings and guards on the Houston Rockets, which is why I was saying consolation trade is most likely on the table so that they can free up minutes for Reed Shepherd, for a couple of other guys. And then for Reece Shea for the Hawks, I think he will eventually start. But I also know that Quinn is a stubborn bastard, respectfully, with the most respect I can give him. And it's going to take a while for him to realize that DeAndre Hunter is not a starting level wing anymore, and that Reece Shea should take his place. And then, of course, everything will go much better for the Atlanta Hawks. Executive of the Year, like I said, Sam Presti for the Oklahoma City Thunder deserves this. When you win the offseason, it vaults you into Executive of the Year. It would take a dramatic, just falling off of a cliff event for the Oklahoma City Thunder for Sam Presti not to win this, in my opinion. Or, like I said, Nico Harrison of the Dallas Mavericks finds a way to just make even more trades at the deadline and really vault that team to be the number 1 seed in the West. Most improved, not even a question to me. Maybe I have a little bit of bias. Jalen Johnson, Atlanta Hawks. I think he can be an all-star this year. I think if the Hawks exceed, being everyone, including myself, had them as the 9th seed in the East, if they can jump into top 7, 6, I think most improved all-star berth for Jalen Johnson is pretty much on the table. So I just think he'll play the minutes. I think he's going to get even better than what he was last year. I think he can get 20, 10, and 5. So, yeah, I got Jalen Johnson most improved. Defensive Player of the Year, I would love to give some stupid hot take about this, but let's be real. It's kind of set in stone already. Victor Wembanyama is going to win it. He was on one of the worst defensive teams in the league last year, like bottom 5, and he still was second in voting for Defensive Player of the Year. This is just going to be his award for like a decade or however many years. Eventually someone else will win it because there will be voter fatigue for him, but yeah, he's going to win this. It's like a foregone conclusion. And then for most valuable player, the MVP award, it's finally Luka's time. I think, just as I was inferring about during kind of Coach of the Year with Jason Kidd, reputation means a lot. And to me, one of the biggest things that's held Luka Doncic back for a while is that he's always like 5 or below seed instead of top 4. I think his team is primed to be a really, really damn good regular season team. And if he's top 4, and I even have this team as top 2 in the West, I think it's finally time. I think one of the things that's on the horizon is obviously Victor's ascendance. SGA has been playing incredible. I think there's a really good chance that he could win it as well. But I think this is the year for Doncic. And I think a lot of it comes down to the narrative of just proving people wrong in this regular season, being a top 4 team in the West, playing solid defense, putting your head down, not complaining, and I think this is it. I really do, because after this, it's just such a weird thing that's happened to Luka in terms of narratives. I think it's time. I think it's time for him to win it. I think SGA comes in second again this year, and then the following year, I think SGA is going to win it. And then, of course, I think Jokic is going to come in third because the carry job is great. I won't be surprised if any of these other two win it, but at some point Luka has to. He's so good. He's so good. But yeah, that's what I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching, listening. Subscribe, like, comment. I'd love all the support. The NBA season is here. I can't wait to get into it with you guys. And yeah, I will see you guys most likely tomorrow to break down some of these games. Peace.